we have to read it. So, Archana, you can start?
Yes, Rangadhar.
Yeah, go ahead. Truth is relative to us.
Truth is relative to us because our knowledge is surrounded by ignorance. Our exact vision stops short at outside appearances, which are not the complete truth of things. And, and if we go deeper, the illuminations we arrive at are guesses or inferences or intimations, not a sight of indubitable realities. Our the conclusions are partial, speculative, or constructive. Our statement of them, which is the expression of our indirect contact with the reality, has the nature of representations or figures, word images of thought perceptions that are themselves images, not embodiments of truth itself, not directly real and authentic. These figures or representations are imperfect and opaque and carry with them their shadow of nuisance or error, for they seem to deny or shut out other truths, and even the truth they express does not get its full value. It is an end or edge of it that projects into form, and the rest is left in the shadow unseen or disfigured or uncertainly visible. It might almost be said that no mental statement of things can be self. It is not truth bodied, pure, and nude, but a draped figure. Often it is only the drapery that is visible. But this character does not apply to truth perceived direct action of consciousness or to the truth of knowledge by identity. Our seeing there may be limited, but so far as it extends, it is authentic, and authenticity is a first step towards absoluteness. Error may attach itself to a direct or identical vision of things by a mental accretion, by a mistaken or illegitimate extension, or by the mind's misinterpretation, but it does not enter into the substance. This authentic or identical vision or experience of things is the true nature of knowledge, and it is self existent within the being, although rendered in our minds by a secondary formation that is unauthentic and derivative. Ignorance in its origin has not this self existence or this authenticity. It exists by a limitation or absence or abeyance of knowledge. Error by a deviation from truth, falsehood by a distortion of truth or its contradiction and denial. But it cannot be similarly said of knowledge that in its very nature it exists only by a limitation or absence or abeyance of it. It may indeed emerge in the human mind partly by a process of such limitation and abeyance, by the receding of darkness from a partial light, or it may have the aspect of ignorance turning into knowledge. But in fact, it rises by an independent birth from our depths, where it has a native existence.
Okay, so we'll summarize the thing to get the thing in a gist, and then we'll go into the details. Okay, because we have to see the details also. So, what he's saying in this para, this is the third para of the chapter. He's trying to find the origin of evil, suffering, and death, and all these, the negative aspects of life. So, he is talking about truth. Truth at the mental level is relative because our knowledge is partial, surrounded by ignorance. Okay, man's vision is limited to the superficial physical level, which is really an appearance only the outer form. The reality is hiding inside the form, which veils the essential truth of things. The appearance is veiling the essential truth of things. Even when we go deeper than the surface, it is only guesswork, inferences, and hints, and never the undoubted reality. So, when can you go below the surface? Okay, science is going below the surface. It has gone. It is now looking at vibrations. It is looking at the other realities. Okay, so obviously that also is not full truth. Okay, it's only half truth. Not only is our sight limited and faulty, but our expression of what is seen or experienced is only through language, which is nothing but words. And words are representations, images, pictures, shadows, never the real thing. This is very obvious. That's why we say Nama Rupa, names and forms. Okay. Suppose it's very easy to understand why it's name and forms. Take a tiger. Okay. Its reality is itself. But when you are talking about it, and you use the word tiger, you use the word bag, you use the word tigr, you use different words in different languages. But that doesn't change the tiger. The essential truth, it doesn't change. So that's what he's saying. All our knowledge is based on language. And language is nothing but words. So there are 4 types of knowledge. Okay, if you remember, we'll just summarize. Indirect, separate knowledge. That is our sense knowledge. It is indirect because we are between ourselves and between what we want to know, we are putting the senses. Without the senses, we can't know. So that is indirect because it's coming through the senses. And it is separate. What I'm seeing is separate from me. So that's the first type of knowledge. The second type of knowledge is direct but separated. I am not using senses. I am directly going and looking. I can see your thoughts. This is a spiritual plane of consciousness. Okay. The cosmic consciousness also is of this nature. I don't need to use my senses. I can see your thoughts. I can see your emotions. I can see the reality behind things. It is direct, without senses. But it is separated. Your thoughts are your thoughts, not mine. Okay. Then this is also possible in the intraconscious. Then you have the derivative identity and you have the complete identity. The complete identity is you identify yourself fully with what you want to know. So if I want to know somebody else's thoughts, okay, I identify myself with them. They become my thoughts. The second level, they are your thoughts, but I can see them. But now, at the highest level, identification, I become you, and your thoughts are my thoughts. So that is the direct, complete identity. But there is third one, just below complete, it is derivative identity, which is half true. Okay, much more true than direct separative, but even that is not complete. There are, in the overmind level, it is like that. In the supermind level, there's complete identification. Identification can occur even at the higher mind level, but it's never full. Okay, we are giving these direct planes of 4 planes, but you must remember also that they merge one into the other. It's possible to have a glimpse of the highest even in the lower planes. Okay, so that you must remember. Now, the last 2 need not be subject to error. Need not be, because derivative knowledge can, knowledge can be, ignorance can come in. Sri Aurobindo says that about the overmind level. Even there, the ignorance starts from there, because the separation starts. Okay, so the last 2, that is derivative identity and complete identity. The last 2 need not be subject to error, though limitation there may be. Okay, so limitation there can be. That means partial truth, but not full truth. The first 2 are never the authentic knowledge. Okay, sense knowledge is never authentic. And even the second one is never authentic. Ignorance exists by limitation of knowledge. Second point, error is a deviation from truth. Third point, falsehood is a distortion, contradiction, or denial of truth. But it cannot be said of knowledge that it exists by diminution and abeyance of ignorance, even though knowledge may give that impression to the human mind. Knowledge is an independent, self-existent principle in the supreme state of existence. This is what he said in the para. Now we can go to the each sentence and identify what he's saying. So, I'm reading the first sentence. Okay. Truth is relative to us. That's very obvious. Okay. Truth is relative. Because what I'm seeing and you are seeing, and you will come to different conclusions. So how can it be absolute? If it is absolute, we would all see the same thing. But it's not like that. Truth is relative to us because our knowledge is surrounded by ignorance. Okay. There's a very interesting Japanese movie which became very, 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 very famous. Its name was Rashomon. Okay. Where an event takes place and four people see it in a totally different way. It's almost a philosophical cinema. Okay. It became a very, very famous one. So this is what saying. Truth is relative. Our vision of things is not, when based on senses, it is not perfect at all. So I'm reading the next sentence. Our exact vision stops short at outside appearances, which are not the complete truth of sense. We see only the outer form. Okay? I see your body, I see your eyes, I see your face, but I don't see your thoughts, nor your emotions. Our exact vision stops short at outside appearances, which are not the complete truth of things. And if we go deeper, the illuminations we arrive at are guesses or inferences or intimations, not a sight of indubitable realities. So we can give an example of this, Galileo, okay, when he said that the sun is not going around the earth. Before that, the sense knowledge said sun is going around the earth. But now you are going slightly deeper than that, okay? Slightly deeper. Galileo said, no, that's not true. Okay, I'm giving only a very simple example. He said, no, it is not like that at all. It is the sun that is stationary and the earth is going around the sun. So you have gone below the surface. But even that is not the full truth. Okay, so that's the whole point. And if we go deeper, that's what it means, not very deep, but deeper than the surface. The illuminations we arrive at are guesses or inferences or intimations. Intimations are when the higher knowledge comes into the mind but gets distorted, you get an intimation. Okay, so our guesses or inferences or intimations. There is again a very clear gradation in this. Guess is the worst type of knowledge you can have. Inference is based on logic, so it is slightly better than a guess. And intimation is even more because the real truth has come into your mind, but it gets distorted there. So these things, these are also the language you have to see. So interesting. He's given you three types of getting of the knowledge at our normal level. A guess, okay? Somebody has not come to knowledge today. Somebody has not come to the school, and you can guess, oh, maybe he has fallen ill, or maybe there is an accident on the way, or his parents have not allowed him. It's a guess. Okay? But inference, based on some logical hints that you get. And intimations, you get intuitions from the higher levels, but it comes down into your mind and may get distorted to a great extent. So that's an intimation. Not a sight of indubitable realities. Indubitable realities, indubitable, undoubted. Okay. So it's not all our normal knowledge is only this type. Either a guess or an inference or an intimation. Not a sight of indubitable realities. Our conclusions are partial, speculative, or constructive. This is absolutely true of science. All our conclusions are partial, speculative, or constructive. It's like that in physics. It's also like that in medicine. Okay, you feel that there is something. After some time, the theories go on changing. Okay, so it goes on like that until you find something else, speculative or constructive. Our statement of them, which is an expression of our indirect contact with the reality, has a nature of representations of our figures when we are using language. No? That's why. Word images of thought perceptions that are themselves images. Okay? So, not embodiments of truth itself. So, it's like the real thing and a photograph of the thing. The photograph can be fairly accurate, but still it is not the real thing. So when he's using the word representations or figures or word images, these are, you can compare to a photograph. Okay? Perceptions that are themselves images, not embodiments of truth itself, not directly real or authentic. The next sentence. These figures or representations are imperfect and opaque and carry with them the shadow of nations or error. Okay, so now he's again using two words, nations or error. So what could be the difference between the two? Nations means the consciousness is not there at all. It's a shadow of nations. Okay. But error is you are seeing but coming to a wrong conclusion. So it is slightly better than shadow of nations. Again, so they're using gradation. Yeah. For they seem to deny or shut out other truths. And even the truth they express does not get its full value. Okay? It is an end or edge of what that projects into form, and the rest is left in the shadow, unseen or disfigured or uncertainly visible. It might almost be said that no mental statement of things can be altogether true. Okay? It is not truth bodied. When you use the word bodied, it becomes very interesting because everything has got a substance. Okay? So remember that. At the highest level also there is substance, but subtle substance. So when he's using the word bodied, you are seeing the substance of the event or the thing or whatever it is. You are seeing the substance. Truth bodied, pure and nude. Nude because there is no covering. There are no sheets. The sheets of matter, life and mind are not there. That's why nude. Okay. But a draped figure. It's a draped figure. The reality is draped by the physical form, the vital sheath and the mental sheath. Often it is only the drapery that is visible. At our level, drapery only is visible. Only the outer dress, the outer form. But this character does not apply to truth perceived by a direct action of consciousness. Direct action of consciousness, we saw just now, you are not using your senses, but you are using your, directly you are seeing. Your subtle senses are seeing the truth in the others. Okay, so that's a direct. Second degree of knowledge. Or to the truth of knowledge by identity, the third and fourth, knowledge by identity. You become what you want to know. Our seeing there may be limited, but so far as it extends, it is authentic. So, second and third and fourth, second and third, okay, are authentic, but only so far as it extends. It may not always be true, not fully true. It is authentic, it is true, but not fully true. And authenticity is a first step towards absoluteness. Okay. Error may attach itself to a direct or identical vision of things by mental accretion. Okay. Mental accretion, your mind, intuition comes from above and your mental substance covers it up. Okay. It gets blocked. Just like what happened when the supermental came down in 1956, but it got engulfed. It got completely swallowed up by the density of matter. And now it is there, trapped in matter, but it will take time for it to come out like a seed will sprout. Okay, that's it. This authentic or identical vision of the experience of things is the true nature of knowledge. So, when you have the identity, then that's the true nature of knowledge. And it is self-existent within the being. Don't think that this capacity is not there in you. It is there in you, but it is hidden. You have to discover it and use it. The power to see the truth. Although rendered in our minds by secondary formation that is unauthentic and derivative. Okay? In our minds, it becomes limited. It becomes a secondary formation that is unauthentic and derivative. Ignorance in its origin has not this self-existence or its authenticity. Ignorance in its origin has not this self-existence or its authenticity at the overmind level. Origin of ignorance is at the overmind level. So they're saying very clearly, it does not have this self-existence or this authenticity. You are receiving it through the mind. However subtle the mind may be, the overmind is a mind plane. Okay? It's a secondary formation that is unauthentic and derivative. So even in such a high plane of the overmind, you still are in ignorance, relatively. Okay? It exists by limitation or absence or abeyance of knowledge. Abeyance, a reduction, okay, reducing, and abeyance, a telling to tone itself down, okay. It exists by limitation or absence or abeyance of knowledge. Error, by a deviation from truth. Now look at that. There is a limitation of truth, but there is a deviation of truth also, distortion. Limitation, diminution does not give necessarily error, but you're seeing half truth. But when it distorts, it becomes falsehood. Truth is not anymore, it becomes falsehood. It exists by limitation or absence or abeyance of knowledge. Error by a deviation from truth. Falsehood by a distortion of truth or its contradiction and denial. But it cannot be similarly said of knowledge that in its very nature, it exists only by limitation or absence or abeyance of ignorance. Okay, it's the other way around. Ignorance is a limiting of knowledge. But knowledge is not a limiting of ignorance. Okay, that's interesting. This is how when you say knowledge, you mean perfectly self-existent. It may indeed emerge in the human mind partly by a process of such limitation or abeyance, by the receding of darkness from a partial light, or it may have the aspect of ignorance turning into knowledge. But in fact, it rises by an independent birth from our depths where it has a native existence. So, clear what he's saying? Knowledge is pure, and when it comes down, it gets covered up. But ignorance is a distortion of knowledge. Okay, that's basically what you have to do. So, what's the time? 25. So we have got 15 minutes. We can read the next one. Again, of good and evil, it can be said. He has discussed about knowledge, and the same thing he can say about good and evil also. Sumti, will you read?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. Again, of good and evil.
Again, of good and evil, it can be said that one exists by true consciousness, the other survives only by wrong consciousness. If there is an unmixed true consciousness, good alone can exist. It is no longer mixed with evil or formed in its presence. Human values of good and evil, as of truth and error, are indeed uncertain and relative. What is held as truth in one place or time is held in another place or time to be error. What is regarded as good is elsewhere, or, in other times, regarded as evil. We find, too, that what you call evil results in good. What you call good results in evil. But this untoward outcome of good producing evil is due to the confusion and mixture of knowledge and ignorance, to the penetration of true consciousness by wrong consciousness, so that there is an ignorant or mistaken application of our good, or it is due to the intervention of afflicting forces. In the opposite case of evil producing good, the happier and contradictory result is due to the intervention of some true consciousness and force acting behind, and in spite of wrong consciousness and wrong will, or it is due to the intervention of redressing forces. This relativity, this mixture, is a circumstance of human mentality and the working of the cosmic force in human life. It is not the fundamental truth of good and evil. It might be objected that physical evil, such as pain and most bodily suffering, is independent of knowledge and ignorance, of right and wrong consciousness inherent in physical nature. But fundamentally, all pain and suffering are the results of an insufficient consciousness force in the surface being, which makes it unable to deal rightly with self and nature, or unable to assimilate and to harmonize itself with the contact of the universal energy. They would not exist if in us there were an integral presence of the luminous consciousness and the divine force of an integral being. Therefore, the relation of truth to falsehood, of good to evil, is not a mutual dependence, but is in the nature of a contradiction, as of light and shadow. A shadow depends on light for its existence, but light does not depend for its existence on the shadow. The relation between the absolute and these contraries of some of its fundamental aspects is not that they are opposite fundamental aspects of the absolute. Falsehood and evil have no fundamentality, no power of infinity or eternal being, no self-existence even by latency in the self-existent, no authenticity of an original inherence.
Okay. Now, it's very interesting. What he spoke about limitation of knowledge, okay, it becomes ignorance. Now he's applying the same principle of limitation and distortion to evil and good. Okay. So the principle is the same, but now you are applying it in a different way. And it's also the same in the chapters. Okay. You remember the previous chapter was exclusive concentration is a cause of knowledge becoming ignorance. Now he is coming to the problem of evil and suffering, good and evil. What he has said in the chapters, now he is saying in the paragraphs. Okay, so let's read. We have got some time. We have got 10 minutes. So we'll go through this again and see what he's saying. Again, of good and evil, it can be said that one exists by true consciousness, the other survives only by wrong consciousness. So when you are in a true consciousness, everything is good, everything is in its place, it is justified. The other survives only by wrong consciousness. So when your consciousness is wrong, when you are not seeing the right thing, you are covered up by your senses, your body, mind, life you are identified with, then you start seeing the same thing as evil. Okay, so this is what Sandra is saying. This is a problem which many could not understand. Okay, I won't take names, but there's one person who just can't understand how the Nazi cruelty, okay, could be seen as something neutral. He just couldn't understand. So many times I told him, but still he is not able to understand that. Every time the same question comes up. It is very simple. You have to see, I gave him an example of this wind. Okay, a very soft, sweet breeze in summer is very pleasant and you think it is good. But the same wind, when it is very strong and cold in winter, you consider it bad. But the wind is the same. So when you go to a higher level of consciousness, you start seeing the wind and not the results, not the softness and the strong wind. You don't see that. You see it only as a function of the wind. You see the wind. That's why it depends on your consciousness. There is no such thing. The divine does not create evil and suffering. It is created by your wrong concept, your wrong consciousness. Okay. So he's saying again, good and evil can be said that one exists by true consciousness, the other only by wrong consciousness. If there is an unmixed true consciousness, good alone can exist. That's the reason why the divine is only creating good. He is not creating bad. It's you who are seeing it as bad. Okay? It is no longer mixed with evil or formed in its presence. No evil at all at a higher level. Human values of good and evil, as of truth and error, are indeed uncertain and relative. What is held as truth in one place or time is held in another place or time to be error. It's very simple. Okay, we can give two examples. In many countries, monogamy is a virtue. In another place, polygamy is accepted fully as valid. Okay, so that is very clearly you can see that it is very relative. Okay, not the truth at all. Or take one thing, when Arjuna is killing the Kauravas, it is good. But when a murderer is killing his opponent, it is bad. The action is the same, and yet it is the same. So this is very relative. Everything is relative. That's what he's saying. If an elephant is charging at you, okay, and you have to kill it, it's justified. It is good. But if you want to kill an elephant because you want the tusk, okay, that is wrong. Action is the same. You are killing the elephant. So exactly this is what you have to understand. That's what Swami is saying. Everything is relative. So what is held as truth in one place or time is held in another place or time to be error. What is regarded as good is elsewhere or in other times regarded as evil. That also is now as man goes on increasing his knowledge and becomes more and more understanding, he also changes his views. Okay, so results in good. This is very interesting. Okay, and what we call good results in evil. Okay, so this also is very relative. So when a flood is coming, you consider it bad. Okay, it is evil. It is destroying houses. It is destroying lives. Okay, and destroying vegetation and your crops is bad. But when the flood goes away, it is leaving alluvial soil, which enriches the ground. So that is good. So everywhere like that you can see so many. A destruction sometimes you think is bad, but destruction is necessary for good. So if your old house is breaking down, you have to break it down. So destruction is considered to be bad, but it produces good. So when Sri Aurobindo is supporting violence against Hitler, it is destruction. But if he is supporting against something good, then it will not be the right thing. So obviously, everything is relative. Out of evil comes good, and out of good comes evil. Okay, so this is what is being said. There are many, many examples one can give to oneself. Okay, but these are all very obvious. That evil can produce good, and good can produce evil. Okay. Now, but this untoward outcome of good producing evil is due to the confusion and mixture of knowledge and ignorance to the penetration of true consciousness by wrong consciousness, so that there is an ignorant or mistaken application of our good or it is due to the intervention of afflicting forces. Okay, so this we can discuss this in great detail. Next time maybe we can do that tomorrow itself. I'll collect a few examples and we'll see, okay, how evil is producing good and good is producing evil. In the opposite case of evil producing good, the happier and contradictory result is due to the intervention of some true consciousness and force acting behind and in spite of wrong consciousness and wrong will, or it is due to the intervention of redressing forces. This relativity, this mixture, is a circumstance of human mentality and the workings of the cosmic force in human life. It is not the fundamental truth of good and evil. It might be objected that physical evil, such as pain and most bodily suffering, is independent of knowledge and ignorance. So himself finding fault with his own argument, not his own argument, but his strain of argument. Okay, very good. When evil is there, okay, illness, bodily suffering, there is a question of ignorance and knowledge, of right and wrong consciousness, inherent in physical nature. But fundamentally, all pain and suffering are the result of an insufficient consciousness force in the surface being, which makes it unable to deal rightly with self and nature, or unable to assimilate and to harmonize itself with the context of the universal energy. They would not exist if in us they were an integral presence of the luminous consciousness and the divine force of an integral being. So when you go to the consciousness of the luminous consciousness and divine force, there is no evil, there is no suffering at all. Therefore, the relation of truth to falsehood, of good to evil, is not a mutual dependence, but it is in the nature of a contradiction as of light and shadow. A shadow depends on light for its existence, but light does not depend for its existence on the shadow. So, the relation between the absolute and these contraries, or some of its fundamental aspects, is not that they are opposite fundamental aspects of the absolute. Falsehood and evil have no fundamentality. They are results. They are not fundamental. No power of infinity or eternal being, no power, no self-existence, even by latency in the self-existent, no authenticity of an original inherence. We'll discuss this next time. We have come to 8:40. So tomorrow when we discuss this, we'll give more examples also. Okay. So we have to redo this one. We have done it in detail, but we'll give more examples, okay, of how good produces evil and evil produces good. Okay?
Yes, I will make a note like that.
Okay. So today only 2 of you were there. And the rest okay. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Rangada. Have a good day.
Thank you.